Thank you everyone for coming. Good morning and welcome to the Transformative Climate Action through Digitalization session on blockchain technologies, organized by the United Nations Environment Program, the International Association for the Advancement of Innovative Approaches to Global Challenges, and the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Western Asia. My name is Sean Radke. I'm an Economic Affairs Officer at ESWA, and I'll be your moderator throughout this session. In a nutshell, this morning we aim to showcase existing efforts and opportunities on blockchain innovation for climate actions in the MENA region. We aim to distill lessons learned about blockchain's application to climate action for scaling up innovative climate solutions in the region. And we aim to highlight the challenges and opportunities in the region for scaling up the application of blockchain technologies, specifically for climate solutions. So, as a quick overview of this morning's session, we'll start with opening remarks from Mr. Sami Demasi, Regional Director and Representative of the UN Environment Program for West Asia. We'll then have a thematic introduction from Dr. Jane Thomason, Frontier Technology Leader, who will be joining us virtually. And later, we'll hear about various initiatives taking place from Dr. Marwan Al-Zuruni, CEO of the Dubai Blockchain Center, Ms. Amiri Al-Haranti, Youth Climate Action Leader from the UAE, Dr. Miroslav Polzer, Executive Director, International Association for the Advancement of Innovative Approaches to Global Challenges, it's a mouthful, and Dr. Tia Kamsara, CEO, Replenish Earth, who will address us virtually as well. Finally, we'll have a panel discussion with some of these speakers alongside Her Royal Highness Princess Abze Jigma, who will talk to us a bit about the digital divide and the initiatives she's seeing. She coached me on the pronunciation of her name, and I apologize. And then we'll also have Dr. Masamba Choi, Project Executive of the Global Innovation Hub and Co-Chair of the Climate Change Coalition at FCCC. And last, but certainly not least, we'll have Ms. Christina Corner, Editor-in-Chief of Coin Telegraph. And welcome, Dr. Marwan Al-Zuruni. Thank you for joining us. You didn't miss anything. I was just giving the overview, and now we're ready to get started. So as you can see, everyone, we have a packed session today. So without further ado, I want to give the floor to Mr. Sami Demasi for his opening remarks. Please.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. Allow me to start by thanking the United Arab Emirates, of course, for this beautiful platform and for all the efforts they are making to actually make this event a success. Yesterday in the opening, you heard much about the impact of the climate crisis. As the latest Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report told us a few weeks ago, climate change is unleashing impacts of greater scale and intensity across the planet. We are seeing dangerous disruption across the natural world. Species are migrating in search of more livable conditions. Climate injustice is hitting vulnerable community a bit harder, actually much harder than before. All of this says that the time for action for more climate protection and decarbonization has now come. To get back on track for the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal, emissions from the energy sector need to be halved by 2030 and eliminated by 2050. On the other hand, we need to end energy poverty. Despite significant progress and established 660 million people will still lack access to electricity in 2030, most of them in sub-Saharan Africa. To provide energy equity and connectivity for all, we have to rapidly expand energy access. This would mean more greenhouse gas emissions and more pain if we followed current energy trends and models. But in truth, there is no dilemma. We can expand access to energy and cut emissions at the same time if we accelerate the transition to a clean, efficient, and affordable energy system and make the best use of digital transformation. The case for digital transformation is definitely compelling. ICT solution can help cut 9.7 times more CO2 than they emit. Solutions like blockchain technology can support transformative climate actions. Blockchain can improve efficiency and transparency of climate actions if it is used in the right manner. Blockchain in itself is neither good nor bad for achieving climate targets. It depends on what we make of it, whether we let it roll over us or really we put it to good use. It has the potential to play a transformative role: transparency, clean energy attribute, and carbon markets and climate finance. As highlighted by the UNEP's recent report on blockchain technology can offer new opportunities, such as improved energy planning, real-time monitoring, facilitating the use of disturbed and decentralized energy resources. But we need to move on 3 game changers to tap into the potential of blockchain technologies. The first one would be to promote shifts in policies, governance, regulations. Policies and regulations should be developed in a way to adapt digital innovations to a local socio-economic and cultural context and prevent unintended environmental and social impacts brought through digitization. Secondly, technological evolution is definitely needed. Particular types of blockchain consume massive electricity during the validation process of a transaction. We need alternatives that consume less energy in blockchain solutions. We need to expand efforts to decarbonize the blockchain solutions. Thirdly and lastly, we need to increase collaboration to accelerate innovative climate actions through digitization. Fostering an open and sincere dialogue between policymakers and industry stakeholders on key enabling policies is vital. At UNEP, we co-lead the Coalition for Digital Environmental Sustainability, a multi-stakeholder coalition of change makers aiming to accelerate the use of digital technologies to address climate action, nature protection, and pollution prevention. I sincerely hope that the discussion today will help bring together blockchain stakeholders in the MENA region to unleash the potential of technology for climate action. I wish you the best of luck, and I have to apologize because we started a bit late, so I will have to leave you, which is something I don't usually do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Masi, for those remarks, and I think we take them to heart, specifically on the urgency of the climate change issue, but also the role that blockchain can play and the things we need to address, specifically governance and regulation, the technological evolution, and the increased collaboration. So with that, next we'll have a presentation from Dr. Jane Thomason, who will present us an overview of blockchain for societal change. She'll be joining us virtually, if we can set that up.
Can I just check that you can hear me?
We can hear you, but we don't see anything yet.
Oh, you see my slides?
Now we see you and your slides. Perfect.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I am so disappointed not to be sitting on that stage with my good friends and colleagues. I am actually in Dubai, but unfortunately, too many conferences and I contracted COVID, so I'm in quarantine. But I want to really share with you my vision and my passion and my belief about how blockchain can really contribute to enhance multi-stakeholder collaboration for climate change and in the MENA region, and to take you through some of those thoughts and ideas. But I wanted to start by saying I really appreciate the comments about what's needed in terms of regulation, the platforms and collaboration. But first we have to have a vision. And in the MENA region, with both Egypt and UAE taking up the presidency for COP, surely there's no better time than now to see if we can develop a shared vision for how blockchain and digital transformation can actually create the sort of change that's needed and the collaboration both in the region and at scale. Next slide, please. So the question that I want you to really think about is, can we use blockchain tools to collaborate on a global scale and reach out across sectors and geographies and build global innovation communities to address climate action. And this is something that I believe can be led from the MENA region. Next slide, please. So there are a number of really important ways that we can harness blockchain technology to be able to support climate action. And on the left-hand side, this was one of the earliest books thinking about this challenge. If you haven't seen it, go and have a look at it, because it really takes you through in quite a lot of detail all the ways that blockchain can address climate finance and green investment. So we have green digital asset solutions, smart grid management, NFTs and gamification, measurement and reporting, and lastly, and this is where I hope by the time I get there you'll be getting excited, we can have a vision of the possibility of a DAO for climate action actually coming out of the MENA region and leading the world. Next slide, please. So what blockchain can do is build trust and transparency in international climate finance and scale up north-south, south-south and peer-to-peer climate finance transfers. It can enable direct financing for community climate scale actions and simplify the results-based climate finance system and crowdfund for community action. Next slide, please. So if you look at green digital asset solutions, and this is a whole new category that's now recognised, we're talking about green utility tokens, which reward people for lowering carbon emissions, green asset tokens, which are tokenised carbon credit or biodiversity offsets, green crypto, which is programmed only to be spent on green products. And in a moment, I take the comment, which is noted from the first speaker about the energy usage of some of the platforms, but we now have platforms that are already carbon neutral or even carbon negative, so I'm going to take you through some of that. And then green security token offering issuance platforms, which enable green proof of impact reporting and a green STO framework as part of the issuance process. So there are a number of different tools in the digital asset finance kit. So some of the examples of green blockchains that these climate-friendly collaborations can be built on include Algorand, Phantasma, Hedera and Polkadot, and many people are working to address this issue of the energy consumption of blockchains elsewhere. And there are an absolute multitude of projects at the moment, and this is just to give you an idea of a few. So Universal Protocol works on turning greenhouse gas reductions into tradable carbon credits. And Carbon Land Trust, which is a tokenised carbon credit producing asset, and oh sorry, you need to go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. Carbon Land Trust, which is a carbon credit producing asset for forest conservation, and we're seeing a lot of these coming up now where people are actually using blockchain ecosystem to incentivise either the planting of forests or the conservation of forests. And Cambridge Centre for Carbon Credits is purchasing carbon credits to fund nature-based solutions, and Climate Coin is awarding tokens to plant trees or reduce CO2 emissions in exchange for carbon offsets. So we have the tools, and there are many, many different projects that would enable all of these things to be connected for climate action at scale. And I think that's the one thing coming out of this meeting today. We need to really focus on scale. So the second way that blockchain can help is around smart grid management. And this can be in cities where it can help improve the management of smart grids. And Power Ledger is probably one of the earliest, an Australian company that enables consumers. Next slide, please. Power Ledger enables consumers to buy, sell or exchange excess renewable energy directly with each other. And what this can mean for people in poor countries is that solar panels can be connected to the blockchain to enable consumers in developing countries to benefit from the distributed generation. So they can produce using their solar panel energy and they can sell it using blockchain to other micro consumers in villages. So one example, and again there are many more, is Azure Technologies, Off-Grid Electric and Mobisol, which are producing low-cost solar panel solutions for off-grid areas in Africa. Next slide, please. Now, many of you will have understood that there's much excitement at the moment around NFTs or non-fungible tokens, and people are already devising ways in which NFTs and indeed gamification can be used to generate climate action. So for example, Save Planet Earth is having certified carbon credit smart NFTs, and First Carbon NFT-based carbon credits is enabling users to track, trade and burn their credits. Digital Art for Climate, and I believe that they're actually represented here in the group, is a multi-stakeholder partnership which uses blockchain technology to turn art into NFTs which can be collected and traded. And then finally, gamification. We can, using blockchain gamification, incentivize people to take climate positive actions. So earn for climate action, incentivize actions for avoiding nature loss, nature-based sequestration, reducing emissions, and technology-based removal of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And we do have the team from Decarbon here who are looking at NFT carbon offsets, developing into a play-to-earn game, which will reward people in developing countries for carbon actions. So on to measurement and reporting. Next slide, please. So there are so many ways that we can deploy blockchain in concert with AI and IoT to be able to improve our measurement and reporting and indeed prediction of climate events. So we can have large-scale interconnected databases with climate, water, land and satellite imagery to develop action for desertification, deforestation and to predict weather events. We can monitor energy use in buildings and cities. We can automate measurement and remunerate those responsible for positive contributions to individual areas and geographies, which benefits the whole environment. Smart contracts can connect environmental changes or outcomes for financial incentives. And an example for a reduction in CO2 measured by an IoT network of atmosphere monitoring sensors around a village, this could trigger the release of crypto or record a commitment to pay based on the observed measurement in the environment. And Evercity.io is working for sustainability measurement and investment. Then finally, and I don't have a moment to really share with you about what a distributed autonomous organisation is, but it's a connected ecosystem that allows people to connect, earn, contribute and be rewarded for their climate action. And it's something that within the MENA region and indeed globally, we could be connecting actors and stakeholders all around the world using a DAO. And this will allow us to do direct financing and impact investment for community scale climate actions, simplify the results-based climate finance, decentralised carbon trading benefiting the poor at household level, crowdfunding for climate projects for the poor, and gamifying to incentivise climate-friendly action, all within this distributed token economy that can be made possible by blockchain. So I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the panel, but let's have a big vision for the MENA region. Let's lead the world, let's go green, let's go global, let's gamify and let's DAO up climate action before COP28. And I'm so sorry I'm not there with you, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the rest of the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thomas, and I think I join everyone in wishing you a very speedy recovery, and we thank you for joining virtually and for providing a very comprehensive overview that we will unpack during the panel discussion, and I look forward to that. I just wanted to pick on one point. I think what we're seeing in this space generally is really an awareness that this needs to go green. You know, even in Bitcoin mining, which is maybe one of the dirtiest since it's proof of work, we see a higher share of renewables than the power sector in general being used to mine. We're going to see Ethereum this summer likely shift to proof of stake, which should reduce the energy usage by 99.9%. So I think there really is an awareness in this blockchain space that these are large issues that we need to tackle, and that there's a role to play for blockchain in being more green, more environmentally friendly. So I think we're on the right track, and thank you once again for your presentation. So next we'll have 3 speakers discuss some of the initiatives taking place when it comes to blockchain for climate initiatives. And I want to begin with Dr. Marwan Al-Zaruni, CEO Dubai Blockchain Center, who will present on Dubai's smart city strategy and blockchain. Please, the floor is yours. Up to you.
Hello everyone. I will try to be brief, but try to get the points across as well at the same time. I have a couple of hats actually. One hat is basically the CEO of Dubai Blockchain Center, which is an impact business which tries to help the ecosystem within the UAE adopt blockchain technology. Of course, with digitization and everything happening within the government, we need to create some kind of an ecosystem where we welcome the thought leaders of blockchain and cryptocurrencies to come together in a place where it's regulation friendly, as well as has a focus on education and value creation rather than just speculation. So this is our ultimate goal, and as we sit here today, we have actually, we are participating in 3 different events, believe it or not, in blockchain in Dubai. One of them, of course, is the one we're in right now. And then there's the World Government Summit, where the top leaders in both the political world and the blockchain world, and also within the academia, are actually meeting to discuss how this space should be regulated and what is the future for both investment and also other opportunities that could be within this ecosystem, like education, for example, and empowerment, and creating value within the emerging economies like in Africa and South America and India and other regions that have lack of financial systems or either underbanked or unbanked populations. One of the other hats I have, of course, is within Digital Dubai. I run the Information Services Department, which leads research and labs. And within that, we develop systems actually to push UAE forward when it comes to digital adoption and digital transformation. And a lot of the research we do is actually the underlying infrastructure that we need to have to create a digital economy where the focus is not only on using technology, but rather more focused on the user experience. And one of the initiatives that we've had since 2016 was the blockchain strategy. But soon after that, we came up with the paperless strategy. And the paperless strategy is actually should be the underlying requirement for things like blockchain, because you need to first remove paperwork from all of the business processes within government and private sector. So if you can imagine, if you are a government department and you're dealing with people internally, it's not a huge challenge, it's an undertaking, of course, but it's not as hard as removing paperwork between you and all of your suppliers and all of the other government departments, all of the foreign countries and foreign entities that you deal with. Paperwork is intrinsic within every single, legal transaction, and some legal systems until today require paperwork to approve a transaction. And removing paper from that whole cycle is an amazing achievement for Dubai. We're 99.9% paper free, and I think we are leading by example worldwide actually. And this will be the precursor for other technologies to come. And when it comes to identity as well, all of us carry a wallet, carry your identity with you in the form of a plastic card as well. So in Dubai and in the UAE, we have an initiative which is called UAE Pass, which is actually removing the physical identity and making it a digital identity that, of course, helps the environment as well as creates the underlying technology that's needed to verify paperless transactions. So digital signature, for example, digital stamping, or what is called e-stamps, verification of documents, or record keeping, validation, things like smart contracts that actually enable things like blockchain. The funny thing is, in Dubai, when we were exploring whether we should have our digital identity on the blockchain or not, we actually decided not to do it on the blockchain, but we had it blockchain ready, so any other application that comes up on the blockchain can be immediately compatible with our technology, which is PKI, which is public key infrastructure. So all of these things that I mentioned before, creating an ecosystem for blockchain, creating an ecosystem where it is paperless, is all the underlying technology that you need to have an amazing user experience, as well as an environmentally friendly ecosystem that is first and foremost digitized, and second, delivers an amazing user experience for anybody who interacts with the government department or has any journey within the Dubai ecosystem, and making their life easier. This could be anything from doing a police report without a piece of paper, insurance claim without a piece of paper, repairing a pothole, reporting a crime. Everything is done without paper. So this is our leading by example initiatives within Dubai, and I hope that this actually inspires you to do the same in your country and region. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that overview. I think it's quite important and interesting to hear about the enabling environment that will allow these solutions to flourish. And I think it'll be quite interesting to unpack some of these during the panel as well, the regulatory environment that is needed to allow these private sector startups to flourish and to be creative, and it's quite important. So next we'll have a presentation from Ms. Amiri Al-Haranki, Youth Climate Action Leader from UAE, and Dr. Miroslav Polzer, Executive Director. I think they'll be presenting together.
Yes. So can we have our slides? Yes, we have. First, I would like to briefly explain why we are here together and what the logic of our intervention is. So the topic of this thematic track that we are in with this Blockchain4Climate session is transformative climate action opportunities. And it is something that we have in the field of climate action, our community, we have our UNFCCC bubble, everything, we think we are great, but there are communities, there are young people, they are concerned, they are on the streets, they are doing their part, and there's the digital innovation community, and the transformative change challenge is that we build the bridges and that we listen to one another, and therefore we are here with Amira Al-Haranki, who has done great job, great work here in the UAE on championing the topic environmental protection, climate protection, but is still a little bit far away from this digital innovation tools and the enabling potentials of digital innovation, and together we want to learn how we can bring youth with the climate action community, UNFCCC UN processes, and digital innovation community together, all in the framework of action for climate empowerment. And Amira, happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Miro. So I'll start by sharing my story so you have an idea about who I am. So let's imagine this scenario. You're camping in the wilderness of the most coldest and harshest environment on Earth, and all they give you is a sleeping bag. You don't have any tent, no fire to keep you warm. All you have is that sleeping bag. You're laying under the starry night, and all you can see is the Milky Way. It's so clear, surrounded by billions of stars. It's so magical. And all of a sudden, the weather starts to change. Clouds start to roll in, and guess what? It starts to snow. All you can think of right now is how to survive the freezing night with a sleeping bag only. And guess who was in that sleeping bag? That was me years ago, camping in the wilderness of in the world's great wilderness on Earth, Antarctica. I was lucky enough to visit Antarctica twice on 2 different environmental expeditions in which I have experienced a lot. Living in a remote continent, being cut off from the world, just taking in the serenity of Antarctica. Everywhere you turn, you're surrounded by beautiful landscapes and calm atmosphere. It's something that I've never seen before. And this frozen continent is the key to understanding how our world works and the impact that we the impact upon it. Sorry. I have witnessed the effects of climate change in this region with my own eyes, from the rising temperatures to ice melting at a very rapid speed, to shrinking of penguin populations, and seeing huge amount of dead krill in one of the areas. And it's a sad reality knowing that our actions impact these beautiful regions. Although Antarctica is isolated from other continents, it's very much connected to the rest of the world through oceanic and atmospheric circulation. So what happens in Antarctica will eventually affect the rest of the world, from rising of sea levels, flooding low-lying communities, to potentially more frequent extreme weather conditions. So throughout these expeditions to Antarctica, I've also been to the Arctic once, and I've seen the effects of climate change there as well. So throughout these expeditions, I've learned a lot, I've seen a lot, and it made me more aware and conscious towards our planet. It made me want to work hard and spread awareness about the importance of preserving these beautiful regions, because when we protect Antarctica, we actually protect the world. And that is why action for climate empowerment is very important. Immediate action against climate change is crucial to preventing future impact on the world at large. I mean, I'm no expert in blockchain technologies, but I do see potential in this field, in the connection with the action of climate empowerment program at the UNFCCC. And I'm here today to learn and engage in this field with IAI GLOCHA and the World Green Economy Organization, the UAE, and hopefully be able to fill the gap of the ACE focal point in the UAE, which we don't have. But in my opinion, I do believe that we need that here, because we need to engage the youth and all members of the society in climate action for them to learn more about what's going on in climate change. Provide them with the necessary tools like education, training, public awareness, and so on, to preserve the future for the next generations. Hand it over to you now.
Bravo. Yeah, thank you very much, Amira. It's wonderful to hear your story. And so the focus of this presentation is how can blockchain help with action for climate empowerment. Perhaps a little bit of background. The MENA Regional Climate Week preparatory process has this tracks, and there was a call for expression of interests for supporting organizations. And my organization has made a submission, and we said action for climate empowerment, that's the transformative governance space in which the MENA region, the incoming presidencies can make a change, because it's now in the UNFCCC process, it's not about continuing negotiations and signing documents, it's how to engage everyone really to take action and make an impact. And here in the UNFCCC process there is this governance space of action for climate empowerment. And we've got the response, yes, you are very welcome to be in this track 3 session, but our focus is on blockchain. And I said that's perfect, because blockchain is a key enabler of action for climate empowerment. And so now presenting you some insights in what we are doing concretely and here in the region and globally. So the challenge is really to get everyone everywhere empowered to participate in meaningful and rewarding climate action, because young people are also looking for jobs, for incomes, and doing something that makes sense for them in the light of the climate crisis. And the answer is innovation. So we need really to do things different. And I like this one. It was a cartoon at COP26. Hey, have any one of you guys ever tried this? So we can fly, and blockchain technology can help us fly. So ACE is this program, and our organization is one of the key non-party stakeholder players in this field. We've been partners of the Austrian government and the UN climate change in the project ACE-AT, Action for Climate Empowerment Innovation Project, and there we had the work package to develop a concept for an ACE non-party stakeholder support structure. and resource mobilization innovation for ACE. And again here, blockchain is the key enabler. So now, important background information that my organization is also a founding member of the Climate Change Coalition, and Masamba here is one of the thought leaders and co-chairs. We will tell us more. Of this Climate Change Coalition is a network of 300 organizations which look how to harness the potentials of blockchain technology for enhanced multi-stakeholder climate action and climate finance. And Catherine is here, one of the members, and also Alexei and some more. So, in the context of this ACE-AT project, we said to empower non-party stakeholders, youth. We need a big global ecosystem of intellectual, technological, financial, and technological infrastructure, and here blockchain technology DAO structures can help to really build something that will reach everyone, empower everyone, equip everyone with resources. And this has been announced at the COP26, and we hope that here in the region, as already Jane has said, the DAOs is really a wonderful tool to get different stakeholders working goal-oriented together. So we hope that we can advance this here in the region. And our vision of a future of action for climate empowerment that every global citizen, every one of us will have on our mobile devices a climate action dashboard app, and that we will play the climate action game and collect badges about our accomplishments and build our legacy for a good life in the light of the climate crisis. One of the key initiatives that we have already implemented very successfully, and also Jane mentioned it, it's a digital art for climate. We have made an art competition, and we've received an overwhelming response of 208 submissions from 57 countries. We've made a collection of 30 finalists, then organized public voting, and we've presented the winners there. And we've seen that with this kind of tools, we reach people we would otherwise not be able to reach. It resonates, it's fun, it's entertaining, and then on the world, we are minting it now on Unique Network, Polkadot, proof of stake blockchain based, and the rewards go then to the artists, 15%, 35% to a Youth Climate Action Fund, where people will be able to apply, and collaboratively we will make the decision-making process and everything transparent, and 50% for the infrastructure for the United Citizens Organization DAO development. And what we've seen also is that this resonates. NFTs, people hear about, but they don't know where to start. And we have made a global angel free NFT, and we've minted 500 tokens, and told people they can request it through a Google form, and we've received 7,000 requests for it. So this shows that it resonates. It's something people love. I have a video, but we will show it a different time. You can visit also UN Habitat Use Twitter page. There you will see these young people, how they have never thought they can connect somehow with the UN system or anything, or get something from a global audience, some money, but they were very happy that this was possible with our initiative. And so the last information, we really want to build momentum here and harness this window of opportunity towards COP28. We've heard from Dr. Marwan Azaruni and others that here is an enabling ecosystem, here are potentials, and COP28 presidency wants to shine, wants to have really something new, something big, extraordinary, and the field of digital innovation for climate, blockchain for climate, is an area where it's possible. And the MENA Climate Week here is perfect timing that we can come together. In the afternoon, we have in the same room here 46 session of regional networking meeting. There we will form a cluster of experts who want to contribute in this process towards COP28. We will identify flagship initiatives like this DAO or other things. We have also friends from Slovenia who are interested to contribute with COP in the metaverse and some other beautiful initiatives. We will see how can we put together a strategy document, a policy paper for the incoming presidencies on blockchain for climate. We will work on fundraising. We will launch our joint initiatives at the UNFCCC Intersessional in Bonn in June, and then present results, intermediate ones at COP27 and real action and impact at COP28. And with this, I give back to you.
Thank you very much for those presentations, especially Ms. Amira. Thank you for really putting in context why we're sort of working on these things and why it's important. And I think it's good to remember that as well. And thank you, Miro, as well for giving us this overview. I know that you and Dr. Thomason both mentioned DAOs as something that's important. Perhaps during the panel we can just unpack, what is a decentralized autonomous organization, how that really enables better coordination between parties, just maybe because sometimes in blockchain we get a bit in the weeds and it's good to just make sure everyone is understanding. But I agree it's a very powerful tool. So next we'll have a virtual presentation by Dr. Tia Kansara, CEO of Replenish Earth, on imagining the sustainable city of tomorrow, the role of blockchain. So she will be joining us virtually, if we can get that on the screen. Perfect. We see you.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, we can hear you. We can see your screen. Can you share your slides in full screen?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Let me just see. Can I see what you're seeing?
We can see. Okay, now we see your slides and we see you. Perfect. Please go ahead.
Oh, brilliant. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm super excited to be meeting you, my esteemed chair, panel and audience, and albeit online. Thank you kindly to Miro and Toyo for your invitation to join me today. For the audience, please keep your questions and suggestions, and in case we don't have time, you're welcome to add me on Instagram or LinkedIn. I'm the founder of Replenish Earth, the UK's first net positive company, where our focus is really to deliver products and services that have a nature positive impact on the planet. I'm also the CEO of Kansara Hackman Limited, the first community architecture firm, and amongst the first to create self-build technologies for a blueprint really for smart community design. And that was with my business partner, Rod Hackney, who's the past president of the Royal Institute of British Architects, where I was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award in Architecture, all whilst being a snazzy economist. At Replenish Earth, we've transformed, I would say maybe 120 organisations to create a positive impact over 90 countries. Our reach is expanding, and recently we were honoured by the UN and asked to spearhead the Resilient Frontiers initiative using lifelong learning practices at COP26. I hosted one of the 3 pavilions, the Resilience Lab for the UNFCCC in Glasgow. So really at Replenish Earth, we're pioneering ways to increase end-to-end sustainable development by supporting businesses to reduce their climate risk, improve their business models, and become more eco-aligned and support governments to invest in green alternatives. I have been researching in smart cities and emerging technologies since 2008, and I did my PhD at the UCL Bartlett, understanding the complexities of sustainable and smart environments for equally smart and eco-friendly humans. Not an easy feat. I was amongst the first to research the viability of Masdar City and took 36,000 buildings worth of energy and water data from the UAE government to support one of the most advanced behaviour change campaigns with the Abu Dhabi government over 13 years ago. Through my work in the UAE, I also created a post-occupancy evaluation of buildings, a tool for the Urban Planning Council, which could be used to review buildings. And since I've become obsessed, you could say, with well-being, and you can only imagine how buildings and health are related, even more so to the environment. Some of my UAE colleagues are in the audience, and I'd like to extend my gratitude for their support, whilst I push my vision for the UAE to lead the net positive ecosystem required for an Earth that is replenished. My journey with blockchain has been a super exciting one, and it's really to understand how we can have this inclusive society. throughout the global commons. I've also co-authored a book, Blockchain Technology for Global Social Change, with Dr. Jane Thomason, who you heard earlier. My expertise is in transforming cities with blockchain technology. Over the past 15 years, the area of smart cities, or just smart tech really, has increased exponentially. People are just starting to realize the potential of blockchain and how it can be applied to our everyday lives. Not only that, but it can help us reach the humanitarian and environmental challenges that are yet to come. And according to the UN, 68% of the world's population is projected to live in urban areas by 2050, as opposed to today's 55%. And that's a migration of another 2.5 billion people from rural areas to cities. Urbanization is a strong driver for economic growth. But like all growth, it's done with an unsustainable short-term mindset. So creating a lot of bad in its deep, right? Booming cities need to be able to predict how their needs will be met, their challenges at scale. If not, they risk functioning at the cost of the environment and the health and well-being of the city's occupants, with supply chain disasters, as we've seen across the field. This is where smart cities come in. Smart cities are places where the traditional and modern needs of a society are met with a more efficient use of innovative technologies and digital solutions. It means having efficient heating systems installed in buildings. It means having an interactive city administration through new online technologies which can attend to the needs of businesses and the general public, no matter what age group they fall into. It means living in a more comfortable space to maintain your physical and mental well-being, as we've seen during lockdown, whilst leaving a net positive impact on the greater environment. So smart cities use that kind of the Internet of Things to optimize the city's structure and functioning, allowing governments like yours to interact directly with both the city infrastructure and the communities which reside in them, helping them monitor the city's movement and how it's evolving. And if it's done well, it can really enhance the quality of life and the cost of living, the performance of systems and decrease resource consumption. I find that Lee Loong, the Prime Minister of Singapore, explains the benefits of smart cities, or in Singapore's case, smart nations, during Smart Nations Summit Week in 2019. He said, for us, being a smart nation is not about flaunting glitzy technology, but it's about applying technology to solve real-world problems that will make a difference to people's lives across the whole of society. So I really do feel that blockchain's ability to apply users to exchange data in a reliable, transparent, and decentralized way has made it a key tool for smart city development. It can also do so at a really large scale, and it accommodates for the needs of a growing megacity, of which we're seeing like a huge amount. By implementing these kinds of blockchain technologies and smart city innovation, we have the tools to create an urban utopia which allows citizens, governments, and businesses to access information whilst communicating through the blockchain in real time. Its decentralized nature and the increased transparency that comes with it. It allows for a sharper decision-making prediction tool. The applications are endless. Imagine how efficient city systems would be and how many unnecessary, time-consuming, bureaucratic procedures can be avoided if we incorporate the blockchain in our cities. So it can really increase security by improving the protection of sensitive data, anticipating emergencies. Blockchain can help governments gain a better understanding of which modes of transport citizens use and create solutions which are tailored to the needs of the governing areas, right? Similarly, it can provide real-time information to both users and civil servants or citizens on services such as waste collection. It can inform people about air quality or water resource management without any delay. And since blockchain responds to the demand of availability and unchangeability, it makes governments and companies even more reliable with their information to avoid shortages or resource shortages, to improve democratic decision making, and it can really provide that sort of unbiased information, helping people to participate more in local affairs. Dubai estimated that by adopting blockchain technology as part of its smart city development, it could save around $3 billion annually. The Dubai blockchain strategy aims to make that city completely paperless, and I really do believe that that has almost been achieved. The city is using emerging tech, including blockchain, to make the everyday experiences of citizens and users more personalized and impactful and seamless, right? The use of blockchain is also estimated to have reduced about 390 plus million printed documents and 77 million work hours annually. The city makes the use of blockchain for its digital transactions seamless. The security which comes with the blockchain means that information and data on the blockchain cannot be hacked and or changed, right? And I think that reduces on cybersecurity costs. I find the example of Singapore a pioneering one in smart city development, using blockchain technology to develop a cross-border verification system, such as for COVID-19 travel documentation, cutting verification time, reducing queues, and super unnecessary crowds, which are likely to spread the virus. I just remember walking through the Singapore airport and getting out in like 5 minutes, which is almost impossible at Heathrow, right? Using blockchain can aid legal procedures and help people secure what is rightfully theirs. And between 1980 and 1990 in Bogota, Colombia, the government confiscated valuable land from its population to give it to American companies in the effort to provide better economic opportunities to the government. But the citizens were just unable to prove their land rights and tenure, can you imagine? So ownership or occupation of their homes, which resulted in widespread homelessness and poverty. You can only imagine the blockchain can easily address that issue that was there and provide this sort of immutable record keeping. Also in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Global Land Tool Network has pioneered the documentation of land rights and certificates for the residency of resettlements of over 600 households for a community. And that kind of recording of land tenure has helped prepare citizens to show their land provenance. That level of security of end-to-end encryption and city management can give authority to initiate where and how there is both security and potential for a centralized third-party public intermediary. I feel the objective of smart cities is to innovate public resources to provide high-efficiency services to citizens as well as to governments and other stakeholders, and that can really improve their well-being as a result. The blockchain has the potential to act as a vector in the global transition towards smart cities. Now, as a thought experiment, imagine decisions for the use of the city's budget was determined by a decentralized voting system through a shared financial model of, say, city coins, or that city coins would allow users to mine coins for their favorite city whilst cutting and diverting funds to the city's treasury. I also think the example of the city of Makati in the Philippines was chosen as the program's pilot in collaborating with the sort of resilience and sustainability initiatives that they wanted to benefit the community with. So please do take a look at that as well. I feel that the Internet of Things, specializing with the sort of curling and smart urban industrial park development of the LOT group was really a smart way of almost like digitizing 6 Vietnamese cities to provide them with a network that would help them cover about, I think, between 6 and 10 sort of like evolving cities of blockchain application. So I think there are some really good examples of the use of this beautiful technology in city development. And at Replenisher, we have been pushing for emerging technologies and smart cities through our work. We help our clients understand the benefits and show them how they can implement smart tech and blockchain throughout their systems. And we always put the user at the center of everything we do. And after all, overarching sort of our aim of smart cities is to improve the quality of life of its citizens. And to do so, you also need to factor in the environment where people spend their time. We believe that cities can implement the technology required to qualify as a smart city. Of course, the definition of a smart city is pretty wide, but whilst we're prioritizing these eco-aligned systems which improve the quality of the environment. So yeah, if you would like to learn more about the potential of smart cities, emerging technologies, and how to be a driver of net positive change, you can join our new course, where we will be sharing the Replenisher curriculum. Feel free to reach out to us on social media if you'd like to connect with us. Thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you very much for that very interesting presentation. I think it builds well on what Dr. Marwan was saying in terms of learning from cities, the innovation that's happening there can be applied elsewhere, and the importance of really having an enabling environment to let the private sector drive a lot of this growth. You mentioned Singapore. I know they're also leading on renewable energy credits and trading this on the blockchain, which is another very interesting use case. And I think I heard something about decentralized voting based on token holders, so I think DAO is going to be a big takeaway from this panel today. If anyone's taking notes, maybe that's one of the main takeaways. So thank you very much. And I think now we can move on to the panel discussion. I'd first like to start with some of the speakers that haven't yet had a chance to speak. I'll just say, I know in this space sometimes we get into the technical details of blockchain, but it's important to realize at times that it's important to focus on the actual use cases, the real use cases that can make people's lives better. We don't try to explain to people what TCP/IP is or other internet protocols. We just show them how to use Uber, and it's built on this sort of framework. And I think with blockchain we can do the same, and maybe in this panel today we can really get into the details of what the actual use cases are, how they can be used, and how they can improve people's lives in real terms. So having said that, I think I would first like to start with Her Royal Highness Princess Jigma, who will sort of give us an overview of the digital divide in Africa, and maybe how we can address this with some of the tools that we have discussed today to sort of really ground us and tell us some real examples. That would be sweet.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing today? Good. Yeah, this is good to hear it from you, because it's kind of before I start, I want to recognize and thank the organizers for this very important and critical topic, which is digitalization. What we need to understand is that blockchain, if I may take that, is to have ownership. Why blockchain started is to have ownership, because we wanted to have more freedom of what we're doing, what we own. So just a brief introduction of myself. I will take the hat today of the member of the Committee of Digital Economy Task Force of the African Union and European Union. So what has been said here, what can we do with digitalization? In our case, in West Africa, if we want to use digitalization, energy is key. Access to energy, because if we don't have access to energy, we can't make a good use of the tools that exist. That is the first one. Of course, lead by example, like my fellow panelist on my right-hand side was saying, start locally and impact global. That's what the UAE succeeds. What I have done in my era in West Africa, I started with the Mamalet initiative, with the Yam token, and working with the women and the value chain of agriculture. So I didn't wait for anybody, because we do have technology people. Africa also need to be seen as solutions providers. We can also, we can help the world leapfrog. Just to give you a sense of that, 2 young people from Burkina Faso just make sure now that we're just paying 1% of our transaction on mobile money. And they take the giants there. That means that it's also a way of sustainability, of efficiency. I was saying that energy is critical. The Mamalet initiative, we're doing off-grid solutions. We're using blockchain technology and mobile banking to reach out. Decentralization is really critical, because we need to give the economic empowerment to our women and our youth. It's wonderful what you have done. Get out of your seat. You get out and went to the Northern Pole, which is the total opposite of where you're coming from. But you come strong with what you have seen, that you can empower, get the snowball effect, that you can support the blockchain association in Dubai to strengthen and to push the wheel. The legal framework is important, because all of this is important to in the UAE they could move along, or Estonia, because the legal framework allows it. That is the next step, because if you don't have the ruling, What are you doing with your digital identity? In the Netherlands, they have that. In other areas, they have that. We're talking about the single market. Of course, all of this will allow those trillions access on finance that we're talking about. But we go back again into energy and access to market. It's important that we talk about digitalization, but at the end of the day, it's the business case. If we got the business case that we can structure and mobilize, then finance is not a problem. Tokenizing economies, that is good. Tokenizing economy doesn't start with digitalization. We started that since humans started their life, as trust. The blockchain with the mining is what? You have give me your hands, you recognize who I am, and I recognize, and so on. That is what it is. This needs to be a plug and play for Mr. and Mr. Lambda. That's how we're explaining that in communities, to come back into what you were saying. Digital divide, it should be, as we speak now, we should be talking about 650 million people living without electricity. It is a business, it's a trillion business. And we can track it now. Developing money is not needed in developing countries. We have the natural resources, and that blockchains will allow and track it, that to make sure that people working with us, because we're open for partnership, for business, then we can track down and say, well, as a state, you can pay your taxes. And if we have the financial flows, so we can subsidize our people to pay any technology that at the creme of the la creme is in this room with their business. That's what we want, and technology allows it. I think we need to think on that mind shift, decolonizing the minds. That is to understand that we're not in the begging mode, respectfully respecting each other. And blockchains bring inclusivity and bring transparency. And what we have done so far, as part of you can see it on the documentation of the UNFCCC, it's part of the official document of the outcome, because we really nailed the work, and this has been verified locally. What we are doing is walking the talk, and we are open as an action for climate empowerment tool that is the Mamalet initiative, and whoever wants to partner with us, or we are willing also to come to others to do business, because at the end of the day, it's about business. And I will stop there, moderator. Thank you for giving me the floor.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Very well said, and I specifically noted down your point about leveraging local innovation to accelerate change globally. And not even just borrowing technologies or use cases from other regions, but also from other sectors that we can then apply to the energy sector or climate sector. And I think it's important to learn. So having said that, I want to shift now to Dr. Masamba Choi with FCCC, because I think perhaps you can give us some examples of climate challenges that blockchain can most effectively address. And then maybe then you can elaborate a bit on the role of blockchain and the enabling solutions that you see in your, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Good afternoon. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to contribute to this very important panel, where it's about how do we leverage digital technology for transformative climate action. My name is Masamba Choi. I'm leading the UN Climate Change Global Innovation Hub within the UNFCCC Secretariat. The main purpose of this initiative is to use innovation in a more effective manner to serve the global challenge such as climate and sustainability. One important aspect is the fact that the way innovation is used currently is very much focusing at the sectoral level, where it's about how do we improve product and services. This can only lead to incremental change, and it will not be sufficient to address the big challenge that we have in front of us. We need more transformative change. We need change that are able to disrupt current supply chain. We need changes that are able to replace current product with more effective product for the satisfaction of the core human need, products that are aligned with the climate goal, but also with the sustainability goals that are increasing biodiversity, that are reducing line degradation, and that are producing flourishing life for 10 billion people by 2050. So when we are talking about using innovation for solution, this should be solution available to the maximum of the Earth's population, not solution that can be leveraged by a minority. And this is where digital technology is really interesting, because it has the power to lead to this type of transformative climate action. It can help satisfy the core human need completely differently, using approaches that are more aligned with climate and sustainability goal. I just would like to take as example, and we experienced this during the COVID crisis, teleeducation to replace trip to school, or online shopping that has completely changed the way that we are living, to replace trip to shop, as well as teleconferencing to replace trip to conference. We have seen some of the participants here who were engaging virtually. So digital technology has a lot of power, particularly if it is used in a more, let's say, integrated manner. If you take the data value chain and you combine IoT at the production of data, blockchain for the transfer, and artificial intelligence for the processing, and then you use cloud computing, which actually give almost storage capacity that is infinite. And then you use quantum computing that can increase the speed of computing by around 1 million. This is really something extremely powerful. So the development of the digital technology has reached a very, very high level. And now where the bottleneck is in terms of use cases. We have progressed a lot in terms of digital technology, but we are lagging in terms of identifying the right use cases to fully leverage the potential of this digital technology. Within the UNFCCC Secretariat, we have been interested in using the digital technology for climate policy making. So how can we leverage this potential to do better climate policy making, meaning having lower transaction costs, having more streamlined processes, and also sometimes even enabling climate action that otherwise wouldn't be possible. We have worked on 3 main types of application. The first is digital MRV. I think it was mentioned by some of the panelists. And we have started by developing what we call a digital methodology that are kind of smart contract. The main purpose here is to have the possibility to automate the issuance of carbon credit. Imagine a woman in a rural area in Africa using efficient cook stove, and then while she is using the efficient cook stove, money is coming into her digital wallet. This is not a dream. This is actually possible. We have all the digital technology to make this thing happen. If you have digital sensor that can measure the operation time of the efficient cook stove, and then we have digital methodology that are kind of smart contract that will issue in an automated manner the carbon credit that are sold because they are tokenized in the carbon market, and somebody buy them and pay with digital currency. You will have the efficient cook stove operating, and at the same time digital money coming in the digital wallet of the woman in the rural area. So it means inclusiveness. It means being able to enabling category of population that wouldn't have access to carbon revenue, making them be part of the process. The second type of application, which is also very important for us, is the tokenization. And here we are working on one project in collaboration with the Bank for International Settlement. This is about a new framework for a green bond, where a green bond is defined as a vanilla bond at which you append mitigation outcome security. The mitigation outcome security is a promise to deliver at a later point in time mitigation outcome at maturity. So this is this new configuration at a lot of value because carbon credit, which is an ex post reward, can then become an ex ante enabling finance available. So, and it addresses a lot of problems related to transparency. So for example, the issue of use of proceed is addressed, and the very important issue of shade of green. Because everybody is saying, I'm issuing a green bond, but what is the shade of green? Is it a dark green bond? Is it a light green bond? These are very important questions. Now, if you append to the bond mitigation outcome security that are promises to deliver mitigation outcome, the shade of green of the bond can be easily determined. The third application, which is also very important, is the measurement of the net climate contribution of enabling solution. Just to put it in context, currently we have a framework. What our framework can do is the measurement of the climate impact arising from climate action undertaken within the boundary of the climate actor. So it means that if I'm a facility and then I undertake climate action to reduce my emission, our current framework can measure my contribution. But if I'm developing solution, let's say digital technology, that are used by other entities to reduce their own emission, it's not possible currently to reduce my contribution as technology developer to the climate crisis. And this is what we would like to solve, because we realize that the enabling entities have a very important role to play, be it technology developers that are selling technologies that others can use, or financial or policymakers that are enabling others so that they can conduct climate action. So if you want to measure the climate contribution of technology as a solution, for example, we need to determine the carbon footprint of your technology, which is the negative externality of the solution, and you need to measure the carbon handprint of the technology, which is the positive externality of the technology. And the difference between the positive externality and the negative externality is what will be the net contribution of the technology. Now, if you want to measure the carbon footprint and do it in a, let's say, proper manner, you cannot rely on secondary data, meaning average data. You need really, from cradle to cradle, undertake a life cycle analysis and follow your product at all the different stages in the supply chain to be able to have their carbon content, their carbon footprint. This you can only do it if you use blockchain. This is an example of situation where blockchain is not just improving, blockchain is enabling such type of framework. You can only do it by using blockchain. And what is interesting here is what we are trying to do is to flip the way blockchain is used for Bitcoin. For Bitcoin, you are trying to avoid double claim of property. So you can only validate that something belongs to X if the previous owner, Y, recognize that it's no more its own asset. So this is what we have flipped, but now working on responsibility. If I'm a producer of a good, I have the responsibility of the emission. And this responsibility and accountability will be taken off my account only if there is somebody else who is the buyer of my product accept to take the ownership, the responsibility of this emission. And if you put in place this very simple system using blockchain where all the different actors are at the node of the different blockchain, you can actually track the emission content in the product down to the end consumer, and then you will have the carbon footprint. So in this example, as well as in the example of digital MRV or the tokenization of green bond, blockchain has a very, very key role to play through its immutability function and its consensus building function. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just to cherry pick one of the things you said, which I think is just very important, is to see the tool of blockchain as part of the toolbox in coordination with AI and IoT to better generate the data, manage the data, analyze the data, and then share it in an immutable and transparent way, and I think that's very important. I want to shift quickly to Ms. Christina Corner. Same question to you, and I'm just wondering if you could really explain to us about how can we raise the awareness of some of these tools. I know you are sort of the media expert on the panel, and you can tell us about the global view of some of these things, and then after which we're going to shift to Dr. Marwan to sort of give us the answers to all these questions and how we can implement it into the region. So I hope you're ready for this.
Thank you very much. Sabah al-Khair, good morning, or maybe already good afternoon. But when you are working in a decentralized environment, there are no time zones. Climate action doesn't have time. It's a great advantage that we have to be able to work in this decentralized, remote, online environment where we can give voices of different communities around the world. I'm representing Cointelegraph, that is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and blockchain media in the world. And I'm really proud that we are part of these discussions, and thank you very much for the invite. We are honored to be media partners for the Climate Change Coalition and different initiatives that have been named today by my wonderful panelists. And I really would like to highlight the importance of this, not only for me as a political scientist of environmental relationships, so this is a particularly important topic for me, but I think in the context of global discussions involving media, talking about these projects, educating those who need to learn new terms, who need to learn about new tools that we have is very important. So the media role is here indispensable, and I'm really proud of our team, who is also present here, and who is working from over 30 countries in the world to bring different voices and different projects that they are testifying around the locations. I think that this is an example of a decentralized community, and we had a lot of talks today about different projects and applications, and I would like to highlight some other advantages that the crypto and blockchain community can bring to the climate action. And first of all, it's a very young community, not of age, but of mindset, and this is very important. These people who create this new industry within the last few years are the ones who are daring. They